Crises have a way of accelerating trends already in progress, and this one certainly has. A new analysis shows that billionaires in this country increased their wealth by nearly 40% since the coronavirus pandemic came here. That trend was upended very briefly this week when an army of amateur day traders on Reddit collectively drove up the stock of GameStop. It's a video game retailer that a bunch of hedge funds had shorted. Those hedge funds lost billions. And when they did, many brokerage houses jumped to their rescue by shutting down purchases of GameStop shares. Everyone saw it happen, and many were appalled by it.
I think this is a much larger issue in the thread of our country and its fragility and what's happening in the inequality. And frankly, the hypocrisy of the political leaders who say, you can't open your business and run your business and make a living during the pandemic. We won't pass a stimulus bill in time. And, oh, by the way, now you can't trade. You know, what's the next thing they're going to control and say you can't do?
One of the Winklevosses, the twins who came up with the idea for Facebook and then left. So what can you do in the face of this? Well, one thing you could do is leave negative reviews for the brokerages that stop trading. Change the rules in the middle of the game. Oh, but you can't, because Google's on their side. Google's in this too. Google removed more than 100,000 negative reviews for the brokerage app Robinhood, which changed the rules in the middle of the game. Oh, so you're not allowed to complain, says Google. That's not all. If you're a 22-year-old Best Buy employee in Iowa who just made 10 grand by trading GameStop stock, you're a bad person.
I sort of look at the evolution of this paradigm, starting with sort of gamesmanship, people going online and using social media to make money almost as a game. Then it became very greed-filled. There's a jealousy, there's an anger, there's a frustration at the system. And I think the size of the crowd now encompasses that aspect. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always a stridence to peaks in the market, but this has got anger behind it, and the behavior of the mob in many ways reminds me of what we saw 2 weeks ago at the Capitol.
Oh, yes, the people on Reddit are greedy. They're insurrectionists. Vivek Ramaswamy is a biotech entrepreneur and author of the forthcoming book, Woke Inc., and a very smart man. He joins us tonight. Vivek, thanks so much for coming on. I'm actually sincerely worried about the way our leaders are handling this. The rest of us learn that, oh, wow, Wall Street is corrupt as every other institution. They're not acknowledging that, and they're attacking the people who benefited for like 3 days from Wall Street for the first time. What's the takeaway from this moment, do you think?
So this is the spotlight, Tucker, on the woke industrial complex as we know it. A couple weeks ago, we saw it with Silicon Valley. Twitter, Facebook taking their users off. Then it's the Google and Apple app stores taking entire applications like Parler off their app stores. I was wondering, what are they going to do next? I was actually waiting for them to come after email. I'm sure we're heading on a collision course to censoring hateful or racist emails. That's coming soon.
Oh, yeah.
But it turned out I didn't pick what they were going to do next. Now it's banning stock trades because Wall Street is getting in on the same act as Silicon Valley. But the worst part of it, Tucker, is actually a lot of people lost a lot of money this week. But then they whitewashed the whole things with this woke whitewashing, claiming that it was hate speech, Facebook claiming that it was adult sexual exploitation. And this is getting increasingly farcical, that we ought to, as consumers, just see through for what it is, institutional lying at its worst.
But you can't keep cracking down like this forever before people go crazy and the system explodes. Don't they understand that? You have to, at some point, admit, okay, I'm wrong, I'm corrupt, or whatever, but you can't just turn it back on the people who expose your corruption, can you, forever?
No, it's not sustainable. I mean, crony capitalism 1.0, let's go back to the early 2000s. You take a Goldman Sachs CEO and put him in as Treasury Secretary. That's great. That's the vanilla version. But this 2.0 version is actually much more tricky, right, in 2020.
Yes.
Where crony capitalism 2.0 is you then dress it up with these progressive values, these do-good woke smokescreens. And then what they do is you actually trick liberals into adulation. Liberals should be incensed of all, but you trick them into adulation because of their love of woke causes. And meanwhile, you go to the conservatives and you trick them into submission because they've been taught since 1980 to memorize a line that says the free market can do no wrong, but fail to recognize there's actually not a free market. And so it's actually inherently divisive. Divide and conquer. That's what corporate America is doing, leaving our democracy in damage in its wake.
You're so right. So you wind up having the Heritage Foundation defending corporations that hate them. It's just so amazing. triumph. When the libertarians make the professional woke people like the rest of us are in deep trouble. Vivek, it's great to see you tonight. Thank you for that. It was really smart analysis.
Good to see you.
So the World Health Organization